Have you ever seen those really cute or funny GIFs that maybe you have on social media or on a website and thought, I really want to create those as well? Well, hi creatives and welcome to Agency Academy, because today we're going to talk about how to use Procreate to create GIFs of your own. GIFs are a super fun way to spice up a brand and bring lots of personality, especially when it comes to brands that are for a younger demographic that use social media a lot. And ways to use them are perfect for, let's say, a website, even as icons or footers if you're doing something where you want to bring a little bit more personality. You can use animated text or these different little quirks to maybe create your own stickers for Instagram or just posting to social media and bringing a little bit more character. I'm going to show you 3 different super easy techniques to get you introduced to Procreate, and I'm going to show you a little bit of the tips and tricks to make the workflow a little bit easier. So for what we're going to work on today, you're going to need an iPad, you're going to need Procreate, which is a tool that you buy once and then you can use it as much as you want, and you're also going to need a drawing pen for iPads. So the first technique that we're going to do today is just a super simple looking at changing the color or alternating a little bit so that you get a kind of blinking effect. And that is something that you can use for little exclamations, something that you can use for animating text, or just to bring a super simple, basically a 2-step animation in Procreate. So the first thing you'll want to do is to create a new document. So we're going to go here and just choose screen size right now. The first thing we're going to do in Procreate is to set up the animation assist. And so we click the little gear icon and we just go to canvas and then choose animation assist on the toggle. This will now show you at the bottom each of your layers as a separate frame. And that will help us when we're creating the animation. So first, I just want to do this by adding a little bit of text. So we're going to go in here and we're going to click on add and we're going to click add text. So let's put summer, and then we can click here on the little double A's to get a little bit more information and change the style of this. I'm then just going to pull this color onto the text, and this will warn me that the text is not being rasterized, it's going from a vector to a raster, which is totally fine in this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to color every other letter in this nice green color. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab this text, make it a little bigger, place it where we want it to be on our artboard. Okay, happy with that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this layer. So I'm just going to go here to the layers panel, slide and duplicate. So now we have 2 of the same one. Now the difference I want here is I want to have the same exact text, but I want to make sure that I'm coloring the layers the opposite. So I'm going to grab this orange color by just holding on it. And then I'm going to start doing the opposite to what we had before. So this green color, I'm instead going to put it on the opposite letters. Okay, we can then remove the layer 1, which was the initial one that we actually never put anything on, because the text creates its new layer. And now you'll see we have these 2 layers here. You can definitely name them. In this case, I just have 2 layers, so I'm not too fussy about it. And then what you can do is you can click play, and you'll see that this will blink now in a super fast pace. So what you might want to do is to go to settings, and here you can see the frames per second. And you might want to pull that down a little. So it was at 15 and now it's at 9. So we can see what happens now. Okay, still pretty fast, but quite fun. So we can go and change that maybe down a little bit to like a 5. And now when we play it, it feels more like a blinking, fun text animation. So that is the first way of doing an animated GIF. And you can of course do this with, like, let's say little sparkles or things that come out like that. The second style of animation that I want to show you is something where you're animating on a path, but with super simple lines. And this is an approach where you're basically going backwards to create an effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to illustrate what we actually want to be at the end of the animation at the beginning, and then we're going to cut away a little bit at a time. So I'm going to use this for a bar chart. And so what we want to do is we want to have these 2 bars kind of grow up at different paces. So what I want to do is I'm just going to create the first bar the way it's going to be when it's finished. So I'm going to draw the actual bar like this, and that looks super wiggly. And then if I hold my finger on, see, I don't know if you can see that, but it's moving a little bit. It creates a perfectly symmetrical shape if you hold your finger or tap it as you're holding down the pen. And then I'll just drag the color into it to create a full fill. I'm going to change my color to a different green color, and then I'm going to draw another bar here. You have to still try to do it relatively similar to the other one, but if you pull it out and in, you can change the general size of it. Great. Another trick if you want to move something is you can use this little lasso tool in the menu up here. Just highlight the bit that you want to move around, choose the little arrow to grab it, and then you can just move it around the screen as you like. Okay, but I'm happy with it in this position, and we're going to also fill this one. So now we have our nice 2 bars here. I'm also going to go and add a little legend, so I'll add a little line here and create something straight. So I want these graphs to grow up. So what we're going to do is we're going to again turn on Animation Assist. We'll see that this is our little frame now. I am now going to duplicate this layer, and I'm going to do this as many times as I think I will need to get rid of this animation, or go from start to finish basically. So I'm anticipating maybe I'll need something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 6 or 7 layers. I'll add a few more. Now, the more layers you add, the smoother the animation will be, but we don't need to overdo it, so no need to do like 50 layers or anything like that. So the way we're going to think about this is at the beginning of the animation, these bars are not visible, and then they're going to grow at different paces. So at the end of the animation, at this top layer, they're going to be fully visible. So what we're going to do is we're going to be slowly erasing layers or erasing on the layers until we're completely at the bottom. So if we check out this next one, we can start to erase some of the bar. And we want to try to think about roughly having a amount of erased bits so that it's going to add up to the number of frames that we decided to create, if that makes sense. So if we have 8 frames that we're going to delete bits on, that means that we'll want to make sure there's about 8 sections to this. So for the next one, we can start to see here how much we need to erase. It might be a little bit down here. And the bigger bits you erase all at once, this is something that really gives you control. The faster the animation goes, and the smaller parts that you're erasing, the slower it goes. And so you can also use this to create faster or slower parts of your animation. So maybe you're creating something that initially goes really slow by making small changes, and then it goes fast. So we can see now that we're actually having, I hope you can see this, these really faint layers. And so basically that's our onion skins, which means that on each of these layers, we can see that we're erasing more and more, and we can see the other layers through it. So as we're erasing, we can start to see these different shades through it, and that can be a really great guide. It's quite a manual process, but it is quite satisfying to see it when you can start to look at the animation. Okay, so we're getting to the last layer. So here I just want it to be just a little bit of the actual bar showing. And having this really small part at the beginning and then making bigger and bigger pieces means it will speed up a little and then slow down at the end. And then for the very last frame, we're basically going to completely erase them except for this line that we have, because that's going to be the line for the bar chart. You could also use this to something like, let's say, a flower where you're creating the different petals, and it starts from the bud and you're getting all the different petals coming out as well. So there's lots of different opportunities for this style as well. The third one I'm going to show you is definitely the most involved one. And so here we're going to go into this little lemon that I created. What we're going to do now is an actual frame-by-frame animation, which is a little bit more involved and a little bit more what you would do for, let's say, a feature film or something like that, but of course at a very, very simple scale. So what I want to do is I want this little lemon to have a little bit of a squirt of juice, and then it ends up in a little puddle at the bottom. What we're going to do is we're just going to start by drawing these little triples that are coming out. So I already sampled the color here by just holding down and seeing the color there. And so I'm just going to start to draw 2 little ones that are coming out here. I'm wanting them to end up basically here at the bottom, so I'll try to get them to go pretty straight down like this. They really don't have to be perfect because they're going to be dripping down. Then you'll go to layers and just duplicate the layer. And now what we can do is we can go and just straight delete these because we're going to be moving them. But we can still see the onion skins. So we go back to brush, and now I'm going to want to draw something that is basically extending from where it was, but a little bit further towards the position that I wanted to have. Okay, and then we're just going to keep doing this for a couple different times until we start getting to where we want to be. I'm going to have this one on the left actually speed up quite a bit. So we'll do something like that. And then this one goes a little bit slower. And we'll duplicate again. And so now I'm going to have this one kind of go into a little bit of a puddle here. You could of course put many more frames to make it even more smooth, but I think this is going to be totally sufficient to show you the style of animation and the technique. Okay, then we do the same thing again. So we just delete these. And now the puddle is going to just be formed and get a little bit bigger as this drop here is coming in. And I'm just going to connect that drop here for this one. So we're just connecting. Okay. And then for this next one, I'm actually going to get rid of that, but keep the puddle because the puddle can be the same, and do a little back drip here. Now, what I think would be fun would be to add like another drop coming in halfways. So I'm gonna add one over here that could come from, let's see, over here. And then so you can always keep adding more details as you're creating this. That's really the part that I like so much about this style of animation. So we're gonna duplicate this bit, and you can really just try it out, and you can start seeing how the animation is going, and you can try adding things to it and seeing how it will turn out by just clicking the little play button as you are doing it. So we're almost there, and this little one is just going to join over here, and then for the last one, the little one on the side is going to come and join inside the actual thing, and we'll get that same, we're gonna get that same effect here. So now this one gets a little splashback as well, maybe something like that. Okay, and maybe this one goes a little bit further out. And then for the very last frame, we just have the puddle. Okay. So now for the really fun part. Now we're going to click play and see what this looks like. I'm going to turn down the frames. Yeah, okay, maybe 8 is a good one. So as you can see, this is now a little dripping lemon. And of course you can do way more details and add little shine and little effects. But this is such a simple animation technique, and you could make the lemon look around or the leaves move. But I wanted to create something that's really easy for you guys to get started with. If you really like using illustration and you thought this was a really fun exercise, make sure to go check out my video on how to use illustration in branding in lots of different ways. Super good luck with your projects, and see you next time!